here's another thing. I think let's not assume that everybody knows all the stages of meditation. In the beginning, it is always trained in order to be able to focus and actually destroy the monkey mind, which is the thoughts of, this is boring or whatever you're thinking inside your mind. It is better to not just observe your breaths, because that's the second stage, to count your breaths, to actually say, I'm going to take 50 deep breaths or something like this, and then count those breaths as you're having them. And then you'll start noticing you taper off depending upon your magnitude. 12, 13, you already start wandering back off in the mind again. These are the tools that that can calibrate you, is to see, can you really stay conscious of counting 50 deep breaths and go through the whole process without somewhere around 23 or even 5 or 7 already forgetting the count. So that's why they say first just count, because it allows your mind, which is always looking for something to do. The mind, you can't imagine, is a master meditator on the first level of meditation. It has to be trained. So that first training is count the breaths. Then the second training, once you find yourself getting to 50 or whatever number you set often, now it's time to stop counting and just observe the breaths, meaning that you actually are just observing that you're taking the breath in and taking the breath out. And then as you move on from there, this is where the 4 seasonal breath would then come in, because now you must start synchronizing and measuring the breaths in equal measures, in this case 4 seasons. So it allows you to, one, when you're taking in the first breath, not take in so much that you're not going to be able to hold that breath for the same distance. And what that is synonymous with is in all this beauty and all this abundance, don't get spoiled, right? This is still about family structure, about children. They get too much, they get spoiled, then they become badasses, then we have to lock them up, okay? So also remember, again, all this stuff that's happening, all the bad shit, is because our parents and our parents' parents started populating and stopped being concerned about every single seed that they were producing. And then some of those seeds fell into other hands. And then we're sad when our children are captured by demons. Do you understand? Like, look at all of the ancient lures. There's always a story of either a princess or someone beautiful or a child getting taken by a demon. And now everybody's got to find where that child is. So what we're talking about is that it is in our lineage that, because of all of this pleasure that and gifts that we are given, many of us got spoiled and started producing things and didn't care about those things anymore. And they became a problem for us. So we practice taking in what we need. Now, if you have a lot going on, like if you have a lot of people to support, then first of all, putting the responsibility on yourself, you need to increase your breaths, because your breath is your current. So you have to actually expand it's like, okay, so they say the lungs is dragon. Lung in Chinese means dragon, okay? So everybody's riding on this dragon, but we're riding through the air. So this is already difficult to fly with people on your back, okay? So your lungs have to be big, and if you're going to increase your measures. So those people who are looking for wealth, the wealth and abundance in the current movement is in the breath. So people who breathe shallow are always broke. Also, their bodies are broke because their bodies can't get enough oxygen, so they don't work properly. So this is the keys. But remember, you can't just say, okay, I'm going to start breathing deep, because after all, you only have so much capacity at this stage. So you have to work on increasing your capacity. And this is going to take time, and it's going to take that you be serious. So it's almost like important for you to invoke the aspect of your great grandfather, the serious one, to say, okay, I need to increase my capacity to be able to keep flying all of these people if I'm expecting to get to the next stage. Because some are flying and they got all these people on their back, but they're starting to get winded and they're going lower and lower and lower. And they don't realize this is connected to your breathing. And just like a vortex, because if I saw that person on the astral plane, I would see them going down a vortex. For some reason, they'll never even connect that this is all to do with their breathing, and it'll keep squeezing them tighter and tighter and tighter. I've had times where I started developing lung problems, and didn't understand what that was really connected to. It's connected to you getting winded. And now you need to either keep breathing, expanding your lungs and releasing because you're holding on to too much, or you need to drop something off. So let's then imagine that that breath in is that powerful and that wise. That breath in is how much of this do you really need? And now because you're an adept, not a neophyte, you know that, oh, just give it all to me is a big problem, especially when it's time to hold it. And then when you're holding it, what this means is that this is the gratitude. This is the time in which you're observing what you receive. Because the problem with when you're getting too much pleasure is if you're not observing and being grateful for that you're receiving, it just becomes like too much porn or something. This kind of attitude, just over pleasure, over stimulation. You got 15 cars, you got 39 different suns, you got 500,000 fruit trees. Do you think you care about fruit trees? Do you think you care about the sacred act of sex? Do you think that you care about your children or any of that when you have too much of it and you feel like you have so much that you can easily do away with some of it? No. So that is synonymous with why you hold the breath, not immediately breathe out so you can breathe in again. Just more pleasure, hold, gratitude, gratefulness. But now, and this is where a lot of the divine feminine aspect of ourselves utterly fails. It will not let it go. This is the S on top, on the front of mother, smothering, not letting it go. Okay? Because still in that act, if you held that breath indefinitely, what would happen? You would suffocate. But imagine that happens, but because you can't really die, you live on, and you live on in that state where your abundance is being suffocated because you won't let go the last breath that you just took. Okay, so that's what that's symbolic to you. When you're breathing in and you're holding, you're in gratitude, but you gotta let it go. Because notice how people, when you start having gratitude, no, this shit is a slippery slope. As I explained it, at every point you're being tried, because as you give gratitude and now you give honor, kind of like the last thing you want to do is let it go. After all, isn't that what gratitude and honor are for? Only a certain type. What this is about is why in the end of the mandala painting that the Tibetan monks do, that they just go and mess it all up. That's the breath out. Let all that beauty go. Because we can get to this again. Now, on the breath out, on the journey away, this is the one path that has been forgotten. We will take that breath out because now, especially if you held it too long, when you exhale, it's like, right? So that is not an equal measure to how you took it in and how you held it. It ran away. It ran away. It's like once it finally gets free of you, you're going to even have a hard time getting it back. Hence why you didn't want to let it go in the first place. Slippery slope here. One thing leading to another. So these measures are very important. I'm not saying you got to do this overnight, right? It may take time, but our awareness of this is the deepest thing because we're using our body as the greatest arcana, as the highest level of knowledge. We're saying that it's more to the breath than we think. It just looks like something that we can't even see, but yet it causes life and death. And we are to learn how to be familiar with both because we deal on both sides. The realm of so-called living, which I believe based on how stale they are over here, that the world of the dead is probably more crunk because more people are over there for sure than are over here. More people have died than those that are living. That's kind of like simple math. So the party is happening and we're not necessarily there. And the only way to at least get halfway there until we depart from this space is to make sure that we maintain that connection, which is the breathing out, the span of time in which the journey that it takes you down into the underworld, that is the breathing out. Now you've got to make the journey. And now who wants to make that journey, by the way? That's why most people can't remember to breathe out. It's like, then they're already back in again. They're not seeing the span of time in which you breathe out is the journey. And now when you get down there, because if you've taken a long time to breathe out, you're squeezing it all out. Yeah, all y'all leave. It's like, I thought you liked us. We do. You'll be back. Trust me, Mom, you'll be back. Y'all got to go, though. We got to clean all of this up because, you know, this is the temple. So everybody goes. It's like kicking everybody out, right? And this is deep because notice when you remove everything, all the prosperities and all of these external stimuluses, this is the realm of real seriousness and tapping into the depth of yourself and who you truly are. That's why most people feel desperate down there. They're like, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. You see what I mean? And we know all of us have these issues in that underworld realm. Because it's dark, we can't see. I can't see. I can't breathe. We don't know anything about all of that. Know anything about that. We don't really die. How to take down what they call a bladder of air with you. How to basically use it as a part of your own ritual to baptize yourself. To keep yourself always serious and aware. So you're squeezing yourself all the way out. And then also to bring that ram or that light forth. Which is saying, because you notice how when you get to that breath out and you finally master the breathing and you're there and you're sitting there and the breath's out, the brain will send a signal. Hey, we need to breathe. And the sun will say, really? I mean, there'll be a part of your consciousness that'll be like, really? You need to breathe. Because that sounds like something you're dealing with. We're just going to hold the breath real quick, see what's going to happen. So literally something starts playing out where, because in your consciousness, in your complete being, you really don't feel like you need to breathe. Now, I'm not talking about being ignorant here. If you didn't measure your breaths properly, your body didn't receive enough oxygen for you to be able to pull off this next flighty trip that you're going to go on. That's why this is not after 2 breaths. You're down on the bottom end. As the sun looking at yourself saying you need to breathe, you're more like and you're taking it in, and this is the continuous off balance. So again, just the revelation of the breathing out and the holding brings you down to the realm of the dead. But there's really only joy there, because once you figure out that you don't really need to breathe, then you pass through. Sometimes the body even passes out, but it'll be all right. Like just like a boxer, when he get knocked out, he even got hit, but he gets back up. So when you pass out, it's a mechanism of the body to shut things down so it can take over and then restore things, but it's not dead. So when you do that through breathing and you're not basically suffocating yourself, you're just oxygenated and the signal has gone to the brain to shut off the body, and it shuts off the body, you're still awake. And once it shuts down the body, this is like ultimate relaxation. The body goes down, and it's very easy then for the spirit to actually get right out of the body. And this starts the journey. And that is really the whole purpose of the breathing, is to be able to get the body into a stage of being able to let go of the soul easy. Here's the last thing. Now, all this has to do with breaths, and breath has always been also synonymous with the soul. So that whole idea in the end where we don't want to let go of the breath, as we talked about at the beginning, we don't want to let it go. That's akin to how the body actually feels about the soul. It doesn't want to let the soul go. This is why it's very hard for most people, almost everyone, to get out of the body. Because not only psychologically, not only spiritually, not only mentally, they are so in fear of what is going on, they cannot let go of their soul. And you see this when you're about to take a journey. You will hold on, even something is pushing you out of the body, and now this is even more terrifying. You're like, I don't want to go. What is out there? This is what is synonymous with that. So how do you fix this organically? Meaning, so you don't have to take substances to get out of the body. You need to realize this is directly also connected to that possession. Holding on to something that you should get familiar with and get your whole consciousness. Teach your body right. Teach your planets the right way, the balanced way. Teach them, man, let go of the soul. Let the soul go. The soul coming back. And then you'll learn how to journey with the soul.